should I
What's
look?
going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, the Leo King, and we're here at UAC 2018, and I am very excited to bring you all Michael Erlewine. And the reason why is because I consider you a friend, Michael, and you have been a very big part of my astrology life, career, not only because you allowed me to work for your booth at UAC in 2012, which was a big deal for a struggling and starving, astrologer back then, but you have taught me so much about astrology alone that I truly value you as a person, as an astrologer, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life and here today.
Wow. Well, I consider you my friend, right? Which is good. So what do we want to talk about?
Well, I would like the audience to know some of the more fun stuff and deeper stuff about astrology that you practice, which to me has always been about your heliocentric base chart systems and understanding, deeper understanding of what you call a Dharma chart.
Okay, well, the chart that we're used to, the traditional chart is a geocentric chart. It's a chart of the Earth in the solar system taking a snapshot of the solar system. But it's not seeing what the solar system is doing, it's only seeing what it can see. And like a long time ago, Copernicus pointed out 400 years ago that everything doesn't revolve around us, that we also revolve around the sun. And astrologers haven't really grasped that yet. Astronomers got it, and they took two charts, the heliocentric chart, the geocentric chart, and then they made a life of it, and a life where they made good money, like I guess botany and astronomy, the oldest academic disciplines. Astrologers took just the geo chart and they ignored the Dharma chart, or the chart of the heart. And I think it's cost them. And I think that they're starting maybe to go back and get that empowerment that they should have taken along with the astronomers so they could use both charts. But they didn't do it. And so the heliocentric chart, I'll put it this way, the traditional chart is a chart of our karma, of our personality, of our situation that we're embedded in, we're living in. But what's driving that chart, what's giving it all the juice that it gets is the sun. And the solar chart, I mean not the solar chart, but the heliocentric chart often has quite different patterns. And these patterns don't have to be exact because they really show us what tribe you belong to. They show us what is our archetype. And so I'm trying to get astrologers to go and look, because in my case, when I discovered the helio chart, I literally, over some period of time, began to transmigrate my identification as to who I was from the geo chart to the helio chart. And after a while, the helio chart was the mother or the fiducial chart, and the chart of my karma was just what I'm in. It wasn't that I didn't continue to use both charts. It's that I found an archetype that really was me. So to me, the helio chart shows the tribe that we belong to, and that we've always wanted to belong to, and they're just kind of people like us, and I like that.
I like that too, especially because especially Western or tropical-based astrology really is based around the understanding of the sun, right? So it would make sense, especially from a helio perspective, to really look at the life force that is surrounding the energy of a helio chart. And I think it's been fascinating for me as you call these different archetypes in helio-based astrology that you've created, because not only have you been able to help astrologers understand there is a helio chart, which is a big thing on its own, but you've actually created archetypes to help them understand it.
Well, I created a lot of tarot-like cards that are images. In fact, during a period of not depression, but quietness, I did 13,000 of them. So I didn't just do them for astrology, I did them for not Western, but I did them for Tibetan astrology, for Chinese astrology, for Hindu astrology. And I went and I did different sets of them, but it was a very healing thing for me to do. So now I lost my track of thought.
No, but I think it's great that you've been able to help people see with, like you said, you created that like kind of tarot card, because you do awesome graphics, by the way. which people can find a lot of your different books and graphics, of course, which we'll put the websites up. But you've been able to help people kind of understand what they're looking at, you know?
I'm trying to, all of my books on my site are free. They're just free downloads. You can buy them on Amazon if you want, but you can have them for no money. All you have to do is download them. So.
And what's that website?
The name is, it can be a couple. It's spiritgrooves.com or .net.
Okay.
So it's just like groovy. It's just like zoning and going with spiritual stuff.
Perfect.
Right?
Well, I have a personal question for you to kind of backtrack away from that. So I know you're an astrologer, and personally, I always find it interesting when you look at your life today, let's say, and when you're going through things, do you use astrology on yourself?
Of course, but often it's different than what it was, what I might use on you, because to you or to someone, I would have to explain a lot. To me, I don't use astrology. I'm not rule-ridden. I don't care about rules. I don't use astrology to do everything. I use astrology when I need to take stock of what the heck's going on. If things aren't quite right to me, then I bring out the astrology and I want to do some stuff and see what the heck. This is like the weather. You want to go see what the weather report's going to be.
Right.
And that's the way I use it. Many people use it like to drive their life with, and that's not me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always wondered that about you, about how much you do use it, because when I look at your history, you have one of the most, I don't even know the word to describe your history of all the things you've done, what you've done for astrology, especially bringing astrology to the computer, which was one of the most magnificent things ever to happen to astrology, all the way to being in music, to, if you look at some of your pictures on your Facebook, I mean, there you are interviewing people with microphones when people thought that wasn't, you were doing things that nobody was doing ever. That's kind of your soul, I guess you could say.
Well, I come from a musical background, and I was a musician. You know, in 1961, I traveled, hitchhiked with Bob Dylan, or I played with Jerry Garcia, or I opened for Eric Clapton and Cream, if any of you younger people even heard of it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Iggy Pop was my drummer.
I know.
And we had a whole band with him, so that I came out of that, but I got more and more interested in black music and with interviewing the great blues players, and I did scores of them. But first and this was in the 60s, first by just audio, but later when I could get camera with a whole Sony system like you're doing here, and backpacks and stuff like that. So these black performers came together to make the first time the blues performers, electric ones, got together in scores of them. And maybe they see each other in a club.
Right.
A couple of them, but we brought them all together with their families, with their sidemen, and here they were presenting to a largely white audience what the blues really sounded like. People like Muddy Waters and Little Walter and Magic Sam, but at the same time they were celebrating being appreciated, but also just like a huge celebration of their own, of just themselves. They'd never been all together. Right. So anyway, like that.
So you were doing that, and then were you doing that before astrology, or was astrology kind of mixed in at that same time for you?
Well, no, it wasn't before astrology, but it was mixed in. I mean,
got you.
I was a performing musician, and but I was also learning astrology, but I wasn't creating astrology software and stuff until the early 70s.
Right.
So this is the late 60s, but it was only a few years. So,
right.
Until I did.
And what made you come up with the concept of wanting to create astrology software for a computer? I mean, were you sick of writing the charts by hand, or?
Well, we didn't write the charts, just that. And even when we had software, we didn't have printers for a long time. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even tired. We all had to do charts with log tables and ephemerides, and it wasn't even that. What I wanted to do is I had questions about one of the techniques that I've contributed to the astrologers is called local space. It's how to relocate properly. You couldn't do it. There's no way to do it. It took me all day to do it,
right,
even with the calculator. And then I made it so you could do it in seconds. And now it's in almost all programs, that kind of stuff. So that's how I kind of got into it.
I mean, it's revolutionary. I mean, it literally the early 70s and bringing these programs finally for astrologers to do, and you had a really long run with it.
Yeah, I did. We had a very successful company, and I sold it to my good friend David Cochran, and now it's Cosmic Patterns and Matrix Software.
Yeah.
And their booth is right next to mine here, and we're just old friends. I know he'll take good care of the company.
Yeah.
So.
And now, you know, your journey, where do you feel that you're at in your journey right now about your life?
Well, I have like 100-foot bed of flowers, and I'm a really skilled and well-known close-up photographer. So I take close-up pictures of very, very, very refined pictures of flowers. Not so much people. I'm still interviewing people. I'm interviewing people here the whole time for days.
Yeah.
You know, gone through dozens and dozens of people. So I do that. I have 8 grandkids and a wife. We're celebrating our 47th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So I'm just kind of living and, you know, trying to be retired. But I'm busier than ever, really. So.
Well, you're a very caring and loving person. And I as somebody who's experienced that love from you, I just want to say that I think it's beautiful. And it shows in all your work, all of your photography, all of the work that you've done for the astrology community. And in my personal opinion, I think you're one of the greatest astrologers to have ever been on this planet. And I truly mean that.
Well, that's a deeply great compliment. And thank you for having me here. And I'm so glad to see you. We were at the last one of these together, and you were wonderful then, and you were a great help to me. I'm just so glad to see how you have built this wonderful thing that you're doing.
Well,
and I feel like, well, you're like a brother, or like a son even, to me. I'm happy to be around you.
Well, thank you, and I'm so always happy to be around you.
Cool.
And everybody you can find out at spiritgrooves.net or spiritgrooves.com for Michael Erlewine, and also follow him on Facebook, especially for his macro photography, which is just Michael Erlewine. You can find him on there and follow him.
And essays every day.
Yeah, and they're very deep essays as well.
They can be.
Well, thank you again, and thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Take care.